The thing is, in fiction, in writing, in novels, you should be able to put the themes of what you want to talk about in a way that's not necessarily explicitly talking about that subject. You can pull off that thematic storytelling. It seems very like YA novel. Hey, this is Manga Hall number 6. This is a test. If you hear this test, then I did a bad job editing. And first we'll start off with Dragonball Super. This is volume 12. I think I'm only on volume 11 so far, or 10 maybe, so I can at least read 10, 11, 12. I took a break from it because I wanted to watch the Broly movie, but I'm not really a fan of the Funimation version of it with the green tint to everything, and so I'm gonna maybe somehow find some other way to watch that some other time, or maybe pick it up later. But volume 12, I'm kind of just excited to see this new Mora arc. I don't really know anything about it, so I don't know if this is still about that. I blew through the first 10 volumes pretty quickly, so I'm gonna jump back and read these next two. I think there's a couple more volumes out I can get to. I also got My Hero Academia Volume 6. This is right after the battle with Midoriya and Todoroki at the tournament, so I'm glad that we're kind of done with the tournament arc of the series so far. We get introduced to this character. I'm not going to spoil a whole lot. Probably know more than I do. 99% of people know more about My Hero Academia than I do, even though I'm only this far in the series. Haven't quite started reading this one yet. I'm kind of hoping that the story starts picking up a little bit more than just kind of episodic introduction stuff, because we've seen a lot of characters. We've seen Midoriya get stronger. I really want to see him progress a little bit further, maybe in the next couple volumes if it's possible, so I want to see where the story goes. Next up, Yu Holder Volume 8. I'm finally getting into this series again. It seems like we're also past the introductory kind of first handful of volumes. It seems like we're going to be on kind of maybe the next storyline here, kind of the actual, maybe more of a continuing storyline than just kind of one-off short battles or storylines. So I think we've got introduced to most of the main cast now at this point, but looking forward to this one. I've also been reading Negima, so I want to finish that series too, which is the prequel of the previous series to this one. Bloody Monday is also another series I haven't read in a long time, but I picked up the next couple volumes I need to read because I just want to be able to maybe finish up with it or go through it in one go. That way I can keep track of the story, because I am on volume 4 and I don't really remember what happened previously, at least what they're particularly trying to do next. I have a vague memory of kind of a climactic battle they had with some kind of assassin guy, but other than that, I don't really know the particulars about the plot, what's going on, so I might just have to reread a couple volumes and finish through this whole thing at once. I don't know how long this series is, but if I can at least read a few volumes at once, I can have a good grasp on what's actually supposed to happen. So this was I think I was in college when I first started reading this, so it's been a long time, so hopefully it holds up. I hear I've heard from some other few people that it's actually pretty good, so I just got to keep going through it. And a quick explanation of what my experience with Negima is so far is that a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, my cousin, he lent me his entire set of what he had of Negima at the time, which is probably volumes 1 to 32. And now I finally picked up the volume that picks up after where I've read before that. I have a couple more on my shelf, but they're earlier volumes. So now I can finally maybe get back and finish the series. I think it ends at volume 38, so it was pretty close at the time to being finished, so I can actually knock this one out, get the next few volumes, and read through it, because this was one of the cooler experiences I've ever had with manga, is that I literally was able to binge 30 volumes of this and just kind of read through the whole thing. And I think I had it for a couple months. I just did nothing but read it. It was a pretty neat experience, actually. Got pretty attached to a lot of the characters. It was an experience unlike anything I've ever had since. I'm probably going to do a similar thing with Naruto again, since I have the complete set. I'm only on volume 12, so I'm just going to go through and read pretty much all of Naruto, and that'll be a cool experience, kind of similar to this. There's some stuff I got recently that I've actually read. Volume 4, Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. I think I read about halfway through here so far already. It kind of quickly glances over kind of the climactic battle of the 1 Year War, which I don't know anything about Gundam lore other than so far what I've read in this book. I really don't know a whole lot about Gundam, but I imagine that's maybe the initial conflict between the two factions. So it's probably, there's probably other, if I go watch a different series, that either that battle or maybe that event is covered somewhere else, but this was kind of quickly glossed over in a couple chapters or so, because it just kind of went from the previous battle to the next one, just kind of to tell that the war ended, and now we're seeing kind of a reset for our two main characters. So I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. As you know, the name of the manga implies, that's Thunderbolt, so I'd imagine that means the Thunderbolt sector. So wherever that particular piece of space, it's probably going to keep focusing on that section, wherever it happens there. So I want to, I gotta keep reading, see what happens, because at this point I really don't know where the story's going to go, because apparently the 1 year war has ended. So we'll find out what happens next. I'm actually pretty much glued to this series. I've been keep reading it. I like it a lot. And I'm also a few pages into Volume 12, Platinum End. They gave us a little more backstory on the new professor character, when he was a little younger with one of the other characters in class. I think his backstory is a little more interesting than maybe some of the other characters. He's kind of an overall more interesting character. He's got some depth to him. He's not just... He kind of has his motivations for doing what he's doing. So I want to see maybe what his next choices will be. But overall, I don't really know like where this series is going. It's like high school level, like debate class between these characters about a certain topic. And I mean, if you know anything about the premise of the story, you'll understand what topic that is. But it's this the top 5 reasons why maybe this shouldn't be allowed or not. Like it's super. I don't know. It seems like if I'm reading a comic book, like you can talk about things like suicide, but you don't have to have a character. You don't have to have a group of characters in a room, like telling their points of view, like it was a high school class debating each other. It's a lot of the same similar arguments you've heard before about like, should people have the right? Should you not do it? Should you, if it's something you actually want to do, is euthanasia, whatever, blah blah blah. It's like stuff I've heard before without even thinking about like, oh, let's put that in a comic book. So I mean, the thing is, in fiction, in writing, in novels, you should be able to put the themes of what you want to talk about in a way that's not necessarily explicitly talking about that subject. You can pull off that thematic storytelling in a way that like is either an allegory or a character that is going through those situations and maybe in having a different point of view, or just I'm sure on the broad topic that is at hand in this series that there are other mediums out there that have done it. I'm certain of it. I just haven't looked for it. It seems very like YA novel type of situations that's kind of happening in certain spots. In other places, it's a little more interesting. But I just kind of want to keep it's a Ohaba Obata joint, so I just want to keep reading it because I just want to see where it goes. I want to see if they can pull it off, if they can make it a little better. But I'm rather kind of just like disappointed / maybe bored with this whole story in general. It has good portions to it, but sometimes you have to get through stuff that I don't really fits in with a shonen manga, in my opinion. Not even or anything I've like something I need to read in a manga in general. So I mean, I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm already 12 volumes in, so I might as well just keep going. Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully it keeps. Sometimes I just feel like sometimes it's off the rails. That's all. Like the writer doesn't that Ohaba doesn't really know what he wants to do with this whole story. So maybe that's just my quick hot take on this one. And I pretty much went out of my way to read 1, 2, 3, like half of the stack I have here, just halfway, just get started in them last night, and I also read about half of Golden Kamuy, Volume 4. Kamuy? I gotta figure out, I heard someone else pronounce this differently, now I'm all messed up. We see the conclusion with this hunter-trapper guy, and maybe a little bit more detail about the treasure itself that they're hunting for. Maybe the amount of the treasure that they're looking for, the scale of what they're looking for is just kind of expanded. I've seen that this manga has quite a few volumes, but we'll see that it might be pretty more complex than even what we thought before. There could be a lot of people involved with it, or there could be a lot of money at stake. And the one volume of manga I have in my new set is that I've actually read all the way through is Nyankees Volume 3. Nyankees is always a pretty quick read. It's not the thickest, it's not the most word dense. Usually it's got a good mix of people talking about some stuff and some action. One of the cool things is definitely this new character Mugen. He's the Sphinx Cat. He's probably just like straight up one of the coolest design characters I've ever seen, like in any work of fiction. Like he just the bald head, glasses, the tattoos, like something so cool about the dude. I don't know. Basically one of my favorite character designs in all of manga. I don't know, something about it. I'm a pretty big fan of Stoics, and he's definitely that. I don't really like cocky characters or mean dudes. There's nothing like that, but I'm kind of a fan of stoicism. But I mean, overall, in general, this whole manga has just good character designs. The idea that you can take just normal looking cats, I mean, not entirely normal, no cat has like a star on their belly or nothing, but you can just take pretty much normal looking cats and then give them some kind of cool human design. It's pretty great. I like Nyankees quite a lot. It's an easy read. It's not too heavy. I definitely recommend it. It's kind of like on a similar level of Way the House Husband is. Just kind of a quick, easy read. This has more of a continuing plot than House Husband, but it kind of just gives me similar vibes of like how much you're in kind of the joke punchiness. And finally, for the manga, I have my very first Junji Ito story. I just got a few pages into this. I kind of like the simplistic storytelling and just kind of more of the visual storytelling. Because, like, I don't know, it gets super nuts super fast. And the body horror and the supernatural stuff starts happening, and you don't know, like, what the heck is going on. Or what is causing people to do things. Like it's not important. But it's just the weird stuff is for the sake of the weird stuff. And that this kind of obsession, I mean, yeah, it literally says obsession, is just taking over this whole town. And I'm super excited to see like where does this go, because I don't even want to flip any more pages because this is further than what I've read. But just how this manifests itself into just sheer chaos and terror is pretty neat. I'm not a huge fan of like horror movies, but I do like horror stuff in general, just for mostly a psychological effect. And yeah, I'm super interested in keep reading more Junji Ito, and I might do some quick research on why spirals are so, like, even in other Junji Ito stories, there's spirals kind of everywhere. So I just kind of, I'm not too familiar on the significance. Like visually, I kind of get it, the deal with spirals, but I don't know like what people in like maybe the real world think of spirals, like why they're significant in a story like this, or why Junji Ito uses them thematically so often. So I'm gonna keep reading Uzumaki, finish this up, probably get to my next Junji Ito story. This is gonna be really cool. Yeah, Junji Ito could take up a whole shelf on my wall easily. And finally, for comics, I did pick one up. Obviously the Mass Effect Legendary Edition just came out. I'm gonna play that soon. Like I remember my time with Mass Effect pretty fondly. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan, so I'm not like super anxious to get play that Legendary Edition, because I got my I pretty much remember everything that happens. I played the games plenty of times, but I never read any of these comics. I've read one of the other books, but this is really cool stuff actually, because the books are great, but the visual of these comic books, like, it really makes it feel like Mass Effect. Sometimes I'd read the comics and I wouldn't really know what to put on the visuals sometimes. So yeah, we're seeing what Liara does in between when Shepard was gone after he got killed in the beginning of the second game. So we're kind of seeing what she's doing. She's trying to like recover Shepard's body. So I doubt that works out very well, because somehow the elusive man gets hold of him. And I think I finished that first story, and then it's going into like this Turian War side story. So I just like this idea that I'm going to read through this pretty hefty set of comics, and these are a whole bunch of different stories in here. That's going to fill in a whole bunch of gaps that I don't necessarily know about on characters that I'm either a fan of or never thought much of. Like, one of the cool guys you meet here, he's this like the most badass Solarian you never met. Like, he's a Solarian mercenary assassin type guy, and I don't think you see anything like him in the games. It's pretty nuts. Like, I see this guy beating people's asses, and it's just like, oh, this is like exactly what the Solarians needed, because they're usually just kind of brainiac types. But it's really cool to see just like a really mean one, really tough guy, Solarian. And seeing more of Liara is really cool. She's definitely, if I do a male Shepherd, Liara and Tali are definitely my go-tos. So it's really just kind of cool to see more stuff that's going on from other, fill in the blanks here, because we go back to places like Omega, and it's really cool to see these places from more perspectives than that we see in the games. So I'm really excited to keep reading this. I don't know what's in here at all. There could be a lot of stuff in here. I only read the first couple stories or so that are in here, but there's quite a lot. So yeah, that's all my books for today. Probably see you in a month or two, more manga. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe.